Hey everyone, what's up? Back with another book haul. Buying a lot of books. These are from Goodwill over the last few weeks. Let's get into it. Number one, The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is a popular book. I've heard people talk about it. Reading the back, I'm going to be passing on it. I won't even be putting this on my TBR. I'm going to be living my fantasy life as a used book shop owner, which is something I wanted to do but couldn't really make the leap, that kind of a financial move. So I just lived the life vicariously by selling some books online. That will be one of them. I don't have a new shelf for you today. This is the same shelf from last time, the same sultry shelf. In an ideal world, I have a new shelf every time, but in reality, I am but one man. The Master and Margarita by Bulgakov. I read this book, and this is actually not the book I bought. The one I got replaced this one, which is the one I read. And this was at the recommendation of a friend who was head over heels about it. And it was a bit of a slog for me. It was clearly satire written about the world in the area of in the era of the Soviet Union. This guy was notoriously silenced by the USSR for his entire career, and this was only published later. And I was kind of confused reading the book most of the time. I understood that he was saying something about a country that I was going over my head, which was fine, but just the way he was telling it and how it went from these very serious things to these bizarre scenes. And then on the back, it actually had a quote from Daniel Radcliffe, of all people, who apparently was a big fan of The Master and Margarita. And it said something about combining elements with slapstick comedy. And then I realized, oh, this guy's doing slapstick. And in book form, in literary form, slapstick is pretty bizarre. But I did get through it, and I can replace this copy, and on my shelf is a much cooler copy, which maybe if I want to level up in editing, I can flash on screen. Here, it is a cool cover. Next, another one for my Penguin Classic Collection, East of Eden, John Steinbeck, which is one I'd like to read. I've read a few John Steinbeck, none of his big boys like this. Last one I read was The Wayward Bus, which was a nice little story. Nothing like profound, nothing that stuck with me too much, but he's a famous name for a reason. This one will go nice on my shelf once I get that damn sticker off, and I hope to read it. Here's just some retail fodder. It's the Occupations female relative classic title structure. It's in brand new condition. Now a major motion picture. It's got all of the signs of a book that people want to read and buy. We'll see how that goes. A rarity at a used bookstore at Goodwill. Adrian Tchaikovsky, Children of Time. Incredible science fiction book. This one stuck with me a long time, and it's a thick one, but it earns the page count really well. Incredible hard science fiction elements, a really bizarre world that he forms here, but he does it well, and he keeps you engaged, and you'll be thinking about ants and spiders in a different way, I'll say that much. But you never find this in a used bookstore, and that's a theme that you see when you constantly are looking at these shelves of these tattered spines. These kind of books people don't sell because they read them and they like them, so they keep them. And they're only gotten rid of during a move or a downsize or a death or something like that. Which is why you will see the same books over and over, and you start to wonder, why are these books always here? Because they're so popular that they're recommended, but they don't hit everyone, so they get donated. This one, though, it's a masterpiece. Modern masterpiece. I'm actually reading the second one he did right now. And I was saving that as kind of a boost, like you read certain books and they really slow you down, and then you save books on your shelf that you know you're going to like and you know you're going to tear through. So that's what I did. I believe it's called Children of Ruin, which seems to be the same kind of idea he did here, which is a group of people going to a planet to terraform it. Something goes awry, creatures evolve, and it's kind of the space opera, big jumps in time to show you these weird evolutions of these creatures. So this is a good find. Definitely, I have a copy, of course. This one's in decent condition. It's got some weird crinkling of the spine there, which I'm not sure the best way to verbalize in a listing. It's hard to photograph. But someone will be happy to find that one for a cheap price. Here is a just straight up retail find. I know the name. I know people love her. At the library, where I worked at the library, this was the most popular thing coming out of the teen section. So yeah, no opinion on it, unfortunately. Not for the love of books, but for the love of money. It's an unfortunate part of life. Here's a name I don't see brought up a lot, Nancy Kress. I started science fiction with short stories, and she was a huge name in them. Mainly novellas, which is what this is. And nothing groundbreaking, nothing that's going to like knock your pants off, nothing that's going to really make you think too hard, but just she spins a nice tale. And it's very casual, very like just someone like casually telling you a story. I'd like to read this, I really would. Right now the length of my TBR is so long that realistically I won't read this. But I own it now, so what am I going to do? I don't know. But that's mine. Here's a weird one. Battle Royale by Koshin Takami. Very shiny one, look at that. I found it at the used bookstore. It was in good condition. It looked like something somebody would want, which I guess is the sense I'm trying to develop with this whole book sale thing. And in a little bit of research, this whole Battle Royale thing, which maybe really started catching fire with Hunger Games, haha, it started here. This was apparently the first one, and it started it. And the whole Battle Royale thing is way bigger in South Korea and Japan, and I imagine other Asian countries. You know, we saw Squid Game here in America, which is just, you know, the latest in a long lineage of Battle Royale based stories that apparently are huge over there. So this is a good condition book. It's apparently the first printing of it here in the States in English. Little. Of course, Battle Royale, like anybody else, I'm into it. I was into Hunger Games. I was into Squid Game. But I don't think I'll be taking this kind of an investment to read a Battle Royale story. But it's a nice looking book, nice feel to it. Obviously got a gloss cover. Hopefully that will go to someone who appreciates it. Here's some classic science fiction. Foundation's Edge, Asimov. I just see a book like this, $1, I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna stack it with all my others I have, and I'm going to gaze at my hoard and enjoy it. At a certain point in my life, I was kind of looking at that aspect and questioning it, like, is this healthy? Is this something I should be doing? But it makes me happy, and that's what I want to do. So this will go in my hoard. Another one, another classic retro cover. Get that sticker off. I'm excited about that one. In my book selling knowledge, in my journey, I've found that these books tend to sell, these video game based novels. I know this must be a recent one. Lich King, I think that was like 2008. But I imagine, just like I love collections, so do other people, especially people that like World of Warcraft, and they just want a shelf with every World of Warcraft book ever produced. This one's in pretty good condition. I have very little connection or attachment to it, but someone out there does. Same with this. Anyone who's been to some used book sales will recognize the Dragonlance logo. It must be some old fantasy video game. There's a billion of these out there. Again, shameless reselling. Speaking of shameless reselling, The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho, probably butchered that. This just caught my eye as a book lover. It's got the cloth-bound cover. It's got some beautiful colors on it. It was $1, maybe 50 cents. That might have been the color of the week. And they were nice enough to have the stick, to not put the sticker all the way on, so I don't even have to get my materials out. It did take a little bit off, but very negligible. I know this is a super famous book, and 25th anniversary edition tells me it's probably a book I should read. And I'd like to. Actually, I think I'm going to put this on my TBR shelf, if only to take it off in my next combing over of it. It's just, I'd like to look at it for a while. You know, that's enough of a reason, right? That's enough of a reason. Here's another one I got mainly for the cover. Look at that. Like, who's not going to be drawn to this cover? The color on it. It's incredible. A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. I have heard someone talk about this book. It seems to be one of those kind of like metaphysical, maybe time traveling, where you meet some essence of you in your life and it guides you in a certain way. Maybe one of those like kind of short stories, kind of like this one, which I also found maybe right next to it, Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. They made a movie out of this that people seem to hate. It was next to this one, so maybe there's some common themes here. I'm not sure. This one has some strange black, like it rubbed up against a tire or something. I'm not sure. But other than that, it's a beautiful copy. It was right next to this one. $1 each. 75 cents each, maybe? So I couldn't say no to those. Again, sometimes I pretend that I own a used bookstore and I go to library sales or Goodwills and I just say, oh, someone will buy this. Or I'd like this to be on my curated shelves. I don't own a used bookstore, but it's fun to pretend, right? The Alienist, Caleb Carr. A lot of people love this. Was recommended to me by both my brother and my dad. It was a DNF for me. Sorry, guys. It was way too detailed. You're kind of just like spurred on by these gruesome scenes and you're waiting to get to the next one. And if you aren't like fetishy about New York City in the early 1900s, 1896, if you aren't intrigued by New York City and its architecture in deep, deep detail, then I don't know how you could get through this. I tried, I really did. I think I got 100 pages in, but that was it. But again, very big name. It's got now a TNT original series, apparently. I tried. Someone else will hopefully like it. Orange is the New Black by Piper Kerman. Another one, the cover kind of pops out at you. It's in beautiful condition. Big name. Someone's going to buy it. Someone's going to like it. It's not going to be me, that's fine. Here's a bit of a gamble I took. Don't know anything about this, but some classic King Arthur and his knights and his court. A super old book. Kind of coming apart there. To my nephew from Aunt Lydia. Hopefully you're doing all right out there, Lydia. 1953. Just has this very antiquarian feel to it. Got a homemade bookmark. Someone really cared about this one. I do have some repair materials, just some glue. You know, you slice that open with an X-Acto knife, you glue it back shut, you put some book tape in there if you're confident, and this would be much better condition. Oh, we got a second bookmark in here. It's kind of nice, a nautical reading theme from a bookstore in Nantucket. That'll go in my random accumulated bookmarks drawer. I don't know anything about it. I haven't looked it up. I was just drawn to it. I think it was $2. Who knows? Here is maybe the gem of the whole thing. Time will tell, but it is another one of those. This one, Forgotten Realms, the Dark Elf Trilogy. So reflective that you can see my screen. How about that? There we go. Not R.A. Salvatore, but R.A. Salvatore. Obviously, this is for some collector out there. It's first edition. I think it goes for maybe $50 if I'm lucky. It was sitting on the shelf there for $2. First printing of whatever this is. I can see the collector's appeal. You know, I sometimes feel a little scummy doing this because you're spending $2 for something that wants it for $50, but they're not there, so I kind of have to be okay with just being the middleman here. And I have no interest in this, so I feel much better when I'm selling a book like Children of Time or none of these others. But you know, I've read plenty of books that I enjoy that I'm happy to say to people, hey, you might like this, you know, buy it from me. This one is kind of like, I don't know anything about it, but I know people will pay money for it. And I guess that's the distinction I want to make at the beginning of this whole thing, is if I'm doing it for the love of books or am I doing it for the love of money? And of course there's a middle ground there, but I want to maintain that. I don't want to be one of those people in the store that are just violently rummaging through the shelves and flipping through the pages and scanning with their phone with the cha-ching sound when it's a good one. I don't want to be that. So anyways, Dark Elf Trilogy, $50, maybe. Time will tell. Some classics here, Ray Bradbury, Fahrenheit 451. Probably read this in school. Just can't resist this. I know it's not a rare book. It's not a rare printing or anything. But just love these little ones. You know, if you've got a big enough pair of jeans, you just put them in your pocket, ride your bike to the park, and you read it. Good memories. Same with this. Really cool cover for Lord of the Flies by William Golding. Of course, who hasn't read this one? That's obviously Piggy with a giant fly on top of his head. And I was trying to think to myself, what does this mean? I got to go back to reading the book, of course, and the theme in the Lord of the Flies. I believe that there was some animal killed, and that probably brought a lot of flies. So some kind of primal, some kind of tribal, some kind of, essence of humanity is you have to kill and you have to be the Lord of Death and whatnot. Maybe I'm getting too deep. Maybe I'm misremembering. But Piggy with a giant fly on his head. I feel like the English teacher, where it's like, what does this symbolize to you kids? Because Piggy was not the Lord of the Flies at all. He was the victim to the Lords of the Flies, from what I imagine. But if I really wanted to know, I would read the book again, and maybe I will. A nice copy here. Like I said, the cover caught my eye. Couldn't resist it. For the love of books, gotta go one for the other. Same here, George Orwell, 1984. Classic cover, signet. Maybe sell them as some kind of like sci-fi essential reading with Fahrenheit 451. And what's the other part of the trifecta there? It's 1984, it's 451, and it's one other one. I think I had it in my other video. It'll come to me. Ready Player One, super popular. It's in good condition. I think everyone who's probably wanted to read this has read it already, but maybe not. If they didn't, I've got a copy for them. I feel like in my imaginary used bookstore, you always want a copy of Ready Player One. You always want a copy of 1984. You always want a copy of The Secret Life of Bees. You always want a copy of probably the Twilight series, even though maybe you have some kind of moral objection against that. There's certain books you always want a copy of because when someone's like, oh, hey, I like that movie, and oh, it was a book, I want to start reading, you want to be able to satisfy that. So you have to have some basic inventory of books. And that's part of the knowledge that I'm trying to accumulate right now with this book selling, whatever the hell it is. Here's one of those. Circe, Madeline Miller. I heard of it. A lot of people talk about it. It's one of those books where you have to have it in your used bookstore. And you have to have like this running tally in your head, which I'm pretty good at. This mental inventory of what do I have? Oh, did I sell that? Okay, I gotta get another one out there. Which is what I would like so much about owning a used bookstore, is just seeing what people are reading and like seeing what's popular and having to expand my knowledge really. Like I don't know anything about Louise Penny or like John Grisham or Patterson or Karen White or any of those like mainstream. Working at the library helped me a lot, but that was a very targeted audience. Certainly not the broad scope of things. Young people don't go to the library anymore, or at least they don't go to my library. Watership Down. It's classic. Never seen this cover before. Richard Adams. This is a DNF for me. Another one I'm ashamed to admit. Although that was a long time ago. Maybe I'll try again. This is a cool copy. I don't know, something about that color scheme, the blue and the green. It's very pleasing to look at. For the love of books. That one's for the love of books. Neil Gaiman, Neverwhere. Here's another one. You gotta have Neil Gaiman in your used bookstore. I haven't read a Neil Gaiman I didn't like. Just the way that he tells a story is so smooth and so clean and so unique. I'm down for it. Whatever you're trying to tell me, I'm in for it. Neverwhere was a good one. One of my favorites. I think it was my first. Ocean at the End of the Lane maybe came before it. But I'd say my favorite, although it's close with American Gods. It's just, the landscapes, just the underground world that he brings up is beautiful and imaginative and so real, the way he's saying it. I was there for it. And good copy here. I have this copy. Would be thrilled to sell it to someone who would enjoy it. Handmaid's Tale, there's another one you gotta have. People watch the show and they get really into it. And that's how people get into reading, right? Which is what you want to do as a used book salesman. I don't want to use the word salesman. I've got to figure out something else. Used book purveyor. That's like a pinkies out kind of salesman term. But anyways, you see this in used bookstores all the time. This was a particularly well-preserved copy. It's got a bit of a nick there, but otherwise beautiful, perfectly saleable. Go in my used bookstore in my mind. Oh, well here for me is the true gem of what I found. It was $2. The Foundation Trilogy, Asimov. You saw one earlier. This is all three. Foundation Empire, Second Foundation. That one was Foundation's Edge, which must be a later sequel. Or was it the one? Yeah, book 4, Foundation's Edge. So like a companion piece maybe. Ashamed to say this was a DNF for me. Again, a long time ago. A very long time ago. And I remember actually being kind of into it, so it may be that I just dropped it. It was the early days of my reading, so it was on and off. I remember, of course, Harry Seldon and the basic premise. But I'd like to get back into it, and maybe I will with this. This is one I will not be selling, and I'm happy not to sell it to come back to the love of books and not the love of money. And just seeing this on the shelf, you get that rush, and that's why you keep coming back. You know, it's an addiction. Don't like to call it that though. But it's an excitement. It's fun. And this book is beautiful. Feels nice. Let's go on top. Shelf still holding up. Hasn't fallen down yet. And that's what I got for you today as a used book purveyor or whatever. Yeah. See you next time.